How many bank accounts do you have? How many do you think you should have? I've got 5 must-have bank account suggestions for you and 2 runners-up. Okay, but seriously, 7 bank accounts? Why should I have multiple bank accounts? Isn't 1 or 2 good enough? I used to think so, but no longer, and here's why. Budgeting is great because with most budgeting softwares, you can split up your money into different sinking funds for things like vacations, home projects, vehicle maintenance. But sometimes physical separation of your money not only helps you organize your finances more effectively, but it also helps you build discipline with your money, especially if you're a natural spender. Because honestly, it's harder to be spontaneous with your purchases when it takes 3 to 5 business days to transfer funds between your accounts. Having said that, let's jump into these different types of bank accounts that I think you should consider having. And after watching this, you can jump over here next to watch the best checking accounts and debit cards of the year. All right, bank account number 1, a normal checking account with direct deposit. This is just a classic account for your everyday spending where your paycheck can go. I don't tend to think that having a physical banking branch is that big of a necessity, but it can be a nice option. I do want to ensure this kind of account has lots of access to ATMs. We got to keep this dough liquid. Speaking of liquid, this coffee is my key to finishing this video. Most checking accounts do have access to many ATMs, whether they're through Allpoint, MoneyPass, or some other ATM network. Some even provide a refund for the fees at any ATMs, which is a huge benefit. In light of recent events, you're definitely going to want this to be an FDIC insured account, as you're going to want with all of your accounts. Mobile deposit is also a really nice benefit to have for your primary checking account. Interest doesn't tend to be included in checking accounts, but it is becoming far more frequent to see this offered, even 1% on your balance. Bank account 2, a secondary checking account. I think this is a wise one for a couple of reasons. One, and this is honestly due to a little bit of a prepper mentality, but if your bank had an issue and had to shut down access to accounts because of a hack or whatever, you want to have access to at least some money while it's ironed out. Or take, for example, the banks that were shut down by the government earlier this year. For at least a period of time, people didn't even have access to their funds, which is scary. Or even if there's fraudulent activity with your account and the bank freezes everything, a second checking account at a different bank will at least relieve a little bit of the stress from these possible events. You can even just keep a little bit of money in there, maybe $500 just to tide you over if you need it. Bank account 3, a primary savings account for your emergency fund. Get yourself a savings account for only your emergency fund. Then it's separate and there's less temptation to use that money for anything else. Now you may want this emergency fund at a different bank, which is totally cool if you need that physical separation. We personally have our emergency fund in our Discover savings account. It's high yield, producing 4.3% APY, and it's connected to our Discover checking account, which makes it really easy to transfer funds over if we legitimately need it for an emergency. Now you may ask, Caleb, why wouldn't I use a CD? And I'm like, one of these old things? And you're like, no, a certificate of a deposit. And I'm like, yeah, that makes way more sense. Now you could use a CD, you really could. Many CDs have a great interest rate, but only if your funds stay in the account for a specified amount of time. If you sign up for a 12-month CD, you might get 5% interest right now. But if you need the money in month 11, you take it out of the CD and you lose all of your interest. I'd rather a lower interest rate so I can guarantee earnings while I ensure that my money is fully liquid. Bank account 4, a secondary savings account. Okay, so you got your emergency fund savings. Fantastic. I personally like to keep that money separate from other savings while we're stashing away for things like vacations or home improvement projects or chocolate milk swimming pools, whatever. Plus, then you can still earn some interest on your extra savings. We used to have all of our extra savings in our Juno account because they had a really good interest rate before they changed their policy. Right now, though, honestly, I'm looking for a good savings account to use as our secondary savings account. It's definitely one you should consider. Number 5, a business account. Okay, according to the Small Business Administration, there are 33 million small businesses within the United States. There are a ton of people that work in small businesses, even in side gigs. And every single one of them should be keeping their business money totally separate from their personal money. If you have a small business and you do this, it'll be much easier to track your income and expenses related to your business, and you'll get tax savings due to your tax deductible business expenses. Definitely get a business account if you have a small business on the side and don't have one already. Okay, we've got the essentials out of the way, so here are the runners up. There are 2 bank accounts that you may want to consider adding to further categorize and organize your finances. First on the list, a giving account. We have one of these and it really helps simplify our giving in multiple ways. For one, it makes it super easy to know how much we have to give. Every paycheck, we just transfer a percentage into our giving account. Then we have that designated money to give to church and a number of other organizations that we believe in. The second is this makes it easy to track tax-wise too. When you're preparing your taxes, if you're trying to take advantage of itemizing your taxes, having a designated account to help you track exactly where you gave is super helpful. Because honestly, you don't always get the tax deductible receipt sent to you. And lastly, 7, a tax account. Whether this is for personal or business, a bank account specifically for taxes can be super helpful. I personally do this with business taxes so that I don't have to worry about it later in the year. It's already set aside and ready to send to the IRS. Personally, this might be a great idea if you owe taxes or anticipate owing taxes, because this will actually keep it separate from other money, keeping your rogue spending habits at bay. All right, what did I miss, if any? What's a reason for another bank account in your opinion? What are the pros and cons of having multiple bank accounts? Let me know below. And if you want to see my breakdown of 16 accounts and debit cards, then watch this video next. And subscribe here for more fintech reviews, budgeting app reviews, and general personal finance.